said, hello, country bumpkin. How's the frost out on the pumpkin? I saved some sides, but man, you're something. Where'd you come from, country bumpkin? It was just a short year later, in a bed of joy-filled tears, yet death like pain. Into this wondrous world of many wonders, one more wonder came. That same woman's face was wrapped up in a raptured look of love and tenderness, as she marveled at the soft and warm and cuddly boy child feeding at her breast. She said, hello, country bumpkin, fresh as frost out on the pumpkin. I've seen some sights, but babe, you're something. Mama loves her country bumpkin. 40 years of hard work later, in a simple, quiet, and peaceful country place, the heavy hand of time had not erased the raptured wonder from the woman's face. She was lying on her deathbed, knowing fully well her race was nearly run. But she softly smiled and looked into the sad eyes of her husband and her son. She said, so long, country bumpkins. The frost is gone now from the country to come, yeah. I've seen some sights and life's been something. See you later, country bumpkin. She said, so long, country bumpkin, got redeemed. The frost is gone now from the pumpkin. I've seen some sights and life's been something. See you later, country bumpkin.
Mighty fine, mighty fine.
I tell you what, well, it's been a long time since I've seen that.
I like it better than Make You Break Your Heart, I'll tell you. Don't tell nobody that, but I do like it better than Make You Break Your Heart.
Well, I appreciate that.
It's got more.
I got right Make You Break Your Heart myself. I don't want to be in his shoes right now.
Don't you know it?
And being as young as he is, especially as young as he is.
Well, maybe that. Yeah, sure.
I remember back when you were that young.
I never was that young. I was born old, I think. But it's so good to see you.
Oh man, I'll tell you what.
You're looking good.
I was sitting here. I was looking at your patent leather boots while I was doing that.
See me
my mind wasn't even on the song really, because that brought back memories for me about wearing patent leather boots. Because back, when I was working with Tubb, all the troubadours wore them.
Patent leather boots, the hottest things in the world.
Oh Lord, you get up on them, especially when they got the footlights down here. You stand there and your feet is buried. You want to just dip them in ice.
Well, I want to hear some more about the Ernest Tubb years, because that's part of country music history that's
part of my life.
That needs to be told. We'll be right back after this word with some more of our good friend Calvin Smith.
Yeah.
Ralph Emery has been nominated for induction into the National Radio Hall of Fame in the local or regional pioneer category. A first, because no one with a country radio history is in it. It's time for us to do something about it. Cast your vote by going to radiohof.org and registering. You'll be emailed a username and password to get into the voting section. Online voting runs now through midnight, August 1st. Ralph needs to be in the National Radio Hall of Fame. Let's get him there. Vote for Ralph.
Blue Highways TV presents a special offering celebrating old friends and capturing the great years of country music from the 50s to the 90s. The Heart to Heart Classic Collection gives you 4 hours of classic country music from artists like Little Jimmy Dickens,
all I'm taking is your time.
Sammy Smith,
Help me make it through the night.
the Sullivan Family. That's over 4 hours of classic country music for only $59.80 plus shipping and handling. To order, call 1-888-707-2488 or send your check or money order to Heart Classics, 111 Shivel Drive, Hendersonville, Tennessee, 37075. You can also order online at BlueHighwaysTV.com.
Let's talk about some of those historic years. When did you go with Ernest Tubb? What year?
I started with him, and my first day was December the 22nd, 1962. That's the best Christmas present I ever had.
And you were with him until?
I was with him till July 9th of 68.
Okay. Let's talk about some of those years, because those are historic years in country music.
Yeah.
You know, country music.
There's a lot of good stories about Tubb. You know, Tubb was one of the greatest people I've ever known in my life, but he also was funny, and he loved playing practical jokes and stuff like that. You know, Ernest would never say anything in front of one of his fans, you know, that would give them an impression he would say a curse word or anything like that. But along with the troubadours, it's a different thing. But Ernest loved to play poker, and he loved to shoot dice. And he would call you a bad name right quick if he was losing. But Ernest also, you know, he wasn't a habitual drinker or anything like that, but every so often Ernest would go on a toot, you know, and he usually would last a good 3 or 4 days. You knew that Ernest just wasn't going to be doing shows, and the troubadours would have to go in and do the shows and leave Ernest on the bus or in the motel room. You know, Ernest would just let things build up in him until he just would get drunk. And one time we was playing up in Fairfax, Virginia, right out of Washington, D.C., was playing a fireman's hall up there. And Ernest had got in the bottle pretty strong, and he'd run some disc jockeys off the bus, and they'd already gone inside and told the crowd that Ernest was out in the bus drunk. Well, I went in and told everybody that Ernest was sick and couldn't make it, you know, and during the night, we went ahead and played the show and all that and come back out. Well, Ernest was stumbling around up there in the bus, and he wore this big old ring on his right hand that had E.T. on it, his initials. And I walked up and kiddingly said, "How about moving aside, bud, and let me in?" You know, and he come around with that big old ring, hit me right between the eyes with it. So I tied him up and where he couldn't hit me again, you know, and I said, let's don't have none of that hitting stuff, you know. And he said, "Get your butt off my bus." So he threw me off the bus right there where we was working. And me and the Justice boys went over and we was trying to find me a way out. I happen to think I didn't have any money, so I borrowed enough money off the bus driver, Johnny Wiggins, to get me home. So, couldn't find a flight out. Finally got a bus out of Washington, D.C. home about 5 o'clock in the morning. And I had been drinking some myself back then. I was doing some drinking, but anyway, I went back, clear in the back of the bus and laid down thinking, you know, I'll be out of everybody's way. And the bus was stopping every 5 miles, you know, it would stop and pick somebody else up. And I happened to raise up, and I looked up the front of the bus, and there stood Jack Green. He had put Jack. He kicked him off the bus out on the highway somewhere out there, and Jack only had enough money to get him to Knoxville. But his folks lived in Knoxville, so he was going to borrow some money from them to get him on back to Nashville. And I just happened to have enough left over from what I borrowed from the bus driver to get him on home.
I was just absolute hero worshipped Ernest. And
I did too.
One time in the 70s, I was booked on a bunch of fair tours up through Ohio, up through there with him. So he called and said, "Why don't you just ride with us, son?" Because he knew I didn't have much money no way. I said, "Why don't you just ride with us on the bus?" Well, that tickled me to death, you know, to get to ride with Ernest. Well, I found out they got a floating poker game that never stops on Ernest's bus. I mean, it never stopped. So I was never any good at cards. Never have been too slick at it. But I wanted to play, you know. And so I was sitting on the inside next to the window. Ernest was sitting next to me, and the other boys were sitting around, you know, we was playing poker, going down the highway about 2 o'clock in the morning, about 80 miles an hour, you know. And we was playing, and Ernest was winning. Well, he had money piled up everywhere in front of him. And it was getting a little warm in there. I didn't think about it. I just reached over and I slid that window open, you know, and when it is like a vacuum cleaner, money went everywhere just right out that window. And he never even reached it. He just said, "You want to shut that window, son?" I felt he must have lost $100 out the window, you know. But that was my big time of playing poker with Ernest, when I let his money all blow out the window.
I used to do stuff just to irritate him, you know, when we was playing poker. He'd get them glasses down on his nose. You'd look at his cards like this, and then he'd look over at you like this, you know, to study your face. If you raise him while he'd look at the cards, look down over under them glasses and look over them at you. And I got to whistling one night, started whistling Yankee Doodle, just over and over and over, real high. You know, and he was studying his cards, and I'd look up at him, and I could see he was getting more irritated, you know. Finally, it just got to him. He said, "Well, you quit that damn whistling." It was driving him nuts. I used to get him in a restaurant, you know, and I'd get in booth. Of course, when Ernest got up in the morning, you know, everybody knew that Ernest got his paper, and he would go and eat breakfast, and he'd read his paper. He might take a bite every 15 minutes, you know. I've seen him eat a lot of cold breakfast like that. But I'd get behind him in the booth behind him, and I'd take my fork and rake it along my plate, you know, and how it's like you're running your fingers down a blackboard, you know. And I'd get behind him, I'd rake my finger down across my plate and make it squeak, and you could see him do it humping down his shoulders like that. And then he'd turn around and tell me the same thing. But he said, you know, a few more choicy words to me.
We'll be right back after this word with more Cal Smith. Thank you.
From Baby Take a Bow to Curly Top and Heidi, America's favorite little darling, Shirley Temple has been entertaining us for generations. And now, through this exclusive TV offer, you can experience the most comprehensive DVD collection of one of the brightest stars in film history. But you haven't seen Shirley until you've seen her brilliantly restored in black and white and in color. Presenting the Shirley Temple Little Darling DVD collection. 18 timeless films packed with hours of her unforgettable singing.
And the most crackers in my soup, monkeys and rabbits, loop-a-loop.
Spectacular dancing. And pure wholesome fun the entire family will enjoy together.
Oh, my duck is a wonderful trick. My duck can lay an egg.
And just what is so wonderful about that?
Well, can you lay an egg?
These classic Shirley Temple films have stood the test of time, and you'll cherish sharing these heartwarming adventures again and again with your family and friends. Bring home the magic of Shirley Temple with the new Shirley Temple Little Darling DVD collection. 18 classic family films, beautifully restored in black and white and in color for just 2 payments of $24.99. This collection is not sold in stores and only available through this exclusive TV offer.
Oh, my goodness.
This is a limited time offer, so don't miss your opportunity to own the most complete Shirley Temple DVD collection ever. Call now to order your special edition Shirley Temple Little Darling DVD collection. 18 classic films for just 2 payments of $24.99 plus $5.95 shipping and handling. This offer is not sold in stores, so call now. Rush delivery available.
At the corner of Music Row and Memory Lane by Stan Hitchcock, a backstage pass to Nashville's music history and the superstars it created. Rare stories about Tammy Wynette, Mel Tillis, Ernest Tubb, Garth Brooks, and many more.
It's 1961. From Nashville, Tennessee, in the Ryman Auditorium, it's the Grand Ole Opry. Let her go, boys.
Packed with over 100 rare photos, At the Corner of Music Row takes country music fans along for the ride of making it big in Nashville.
I hollered for Loretta to wake up, because I sure didn't want her to miss our being captured by a UFO.
This book is a must for any country music fan. Order now and receive a free music CD, all for $24.95 plus shipping and handling. Call 866-454-2488.
Send your check or money order for Stan's book to Blue Highways TV, 111 Shibble Drive, Hendersonville, Tennessee, 37075.
We had that bus wreck over in North Carolina, I think that was in late '63. Gene Shepherd and Lefty Frizzell and Snuffy Miller and some of us was riding the bus with us. And Jeannie had she had to go home because she had cracked both her kneecaps in the wreck, and I had hurt, my back was sprung. They took us all to the hospital and had us checked out. So Ernest sent me home, and it was just like an explosion in that bus, and everybody was hollering at each other, trying to find out if everybody was all right. And Lefty was up there, and all the suitcases come off those racks up at the top of the bus, where the bus of Ernest. They had just covered him up, and everybody was hollering at each other, and they said, Lefty, you all right? And he said, yeah, if I can get out from all these suitcases. And Jack Green, he come out and got Gene Shepherd to help her out. She couldn't even walk because her knees had hit the dash of the bus. She was up trying to dial in the Grand Ole Opry, and both her knees caps had hit the front of the bus, the dash of the bus there. And till Ernest got rid of that old bus, still had the imprints of her kneecaps.
Was that the bus? That's not the bus that Marty Stewart's got today, is it, or is it?
No,
that's not the old green Hornet. That's not.
That's the old green Hornet.
Yeah, that's the first one.
That was the first one.
Yeah, Marty's got one of those.
But the bus had veered off the highway like that and come to settle right alongside a fence out there. And Jack Green was trying to help Gene Shepherd off the bus, and he just stopped out there where this fence was and just stood her there, and here she was around the post, hanging on to the post like this, and trying to stand up on two broken kneecaps.
Not an easy chore.
It was a mess, is what it was.
Do me a little bit. One of my favorite songs that you have ever recorded, and I love it dearly, is Drinking Champagne. Do a little bit of it.
Okay. I can think.
You do it in A?
Yeah, Bill, I do it in E.
E?
Well, actually, I do it.
I'm going to do it in A.
I do it in F, but E feels better than A because I'm older.
Who wrote it? You started to think, who wrote it?
Bill Mack.
Bill Mack.
Down in Fort Worth, Texas,
Yes,
wrote this song. And I recorded it in '67, and it started hitting in '68. So this was a song that was really responsible for me leaving Ernest.
Yeah.
I'm drinking champagne and feeling no pain till early morning. Dining and dancing with every pretty girl I can find. And having a fling with a pretty young thing till early morning. Knowing tomorrow I'll wake up with you on my mind. Guilty conscience, I guess, though I must confess, I never loved you much when you were mine. So I'll keep drinking champagne and feeling no pain till early morning. Dining and dancing with every pretty girl I can find. I like that part. Yep. Having a fling with a pretty young thing till early morning. Knowing tomorrow I'll wake up with you on my mind.
Yeah, Bill, you know, it's funny thing about that song too, Stan. I took that song, that was back when I was on Cap Records. Paul Cohen was my producer, and I found that song. Bill had cut it on a little label down in Texas, and I looked all over Texas trying to find that song because I loved it. So I got it and I took it back, and I told my producer, I said, boy, I found a hit song. And I said, I'd like to cut it for a single. He said, what is it? And I said, it's a thing called Drinking Champagne. And he said, well, you can't cut it for a single. And I said, why not? He said, because we just bought Bill Master and we're releasing it for a single. So I went ahead and put it in an album.
It wasn't on the Troubadour.
No, it wasn't in a Troubadour album. This was on one of the albums that I was doing on Cap Records. Yeah. But this was like 67. So I went ahead and recorded an album, and there was a disc jockey out in the West Coast in California. He was a pop jockey, and he somehow or another he heard this song off this album. He started playing it on I believe it was KGO in San Francisco that he was on, and he broke it pop. It started taking on pop first, and then it just kind of come along, and that was really, Drinking Champagne was really the first record that I had out that really started getting Cal Smith known nationally, you know.
Yeah.
But it was broken on a pop station.
Wow.
So it's been good to me.
And that's what prompted you to got your career to the place where you could leave.
Yeah.
It had to be a big decision. I know how close you and Ernest were.
Oh, it was.
It had to be a big decision for you to leave Ernest.
Well, put it like this, the first date that I worked after I left the Troubadours, after working with a band like the Troubadours, I worked at a place called the Red Barn in Norco, California. That was my first date with a three-piece band, and they were all, you know, like weekend musicians. I'm not saying anything about them or anything like that, but they had to be one of the world's worst bands. And it was just like leaving heaven and going into hell. And when I first stepped up on the stage with them, that first night down there in at the Red Barn, I said, why did I leave you, Ernest? Come and get me. It was a hard thing to do to leave Ernest because I loved him. I couldn't have loved Ernest anymore if he'd been my own blood, you know. And through the years, we developed a friendship that you can't match. Yeah. You know, Ernest trusted me, I guess, above everybody else, because we developed a great friendship and a great trust in each other. And my most prized possession is his guitar. He sent me his guitar that he used on the road about a year before he died.
Thanks across the back.
Has thanks across the back where you flip it over and it says thanks, and it's got Ernest Tubb down the neck. It's the one that Showbud made for him in 1975. He was using it on the road, and he sent it to me when he knew that his days on the road was over. Why he sent me his guitar.
You've always been one of my favorite singers. You've got a distinctive sound. You got a distinctive sound. Hey, you got a distinctive sound that you never had to wonder who that was on the radio when you heard a Cal Smith song. It was always had a distinctive sound, and
Well, I had to work hard at doing it because when I first started, I wanted to sing Ernest Tubb. That's the only songs I ever sung was Ernest Tubb. Then Hank Thompson came along. So I started doing Hank Thompson. That's before I started recording. I was wearing them old beer joints and everything, you know. So I had my two favorites in Bob Wills, you know. I was raised on Bob Wills, Ernest Tubb, and Hank Thompson. And I had the worst problem when I started recording, that if I got anything along Hank style, or they'd say you sound like Hank. If I got something on Ernest style, they'd say I sound like Ernest. So I said, there's got to be somewhere between Ernest and Hank that I can crawl into there and find, you know, my own niche.
tell me what key it's in.
It's an A.
I play a lot better when I know what.
Do one Bill Anderson wrote.
Okay.
It made him famous. Not me, but made him famous. Hello, Mrs. Johnson, you self-righteous woman, Sunday school teacher, what brings you out swimming? Do you reckon the preacher would have
prove where you are. Standing here visiting with a backsliding Christian in a neighborhood bar. Well, yes, that's my bottle. Yes, that's my glass. And I see her eyeballing this pretty young lass. It ain't none of your business, but yes, she's with me. And we don't need no sermon, you self-righteous woman, just let us be. The Lord knows I'm drinking and running around, and He don't need your loud mouth informing the town. The Lord knows I'm sinning, and sinning ain't right. Me and the good Lord gonna have us a good talk later tonight.
Thank you, Cal Smith. We appreciate it, son.
Thank you, Lynn.
Heart to heart. Our special guest, Cal Smith. Y'all, we'll see you next time.
Goodbye, Mrs. Johnson. You self-righteous biddy. I don't need your preaching, and I don't need your pity. So go back to whatever you hypocrites do. And when I talk to heaven, be nice and I'll put in a good word for you. The Lord knows I'm drinking and running around, and He don't need your loud mouth informing the town. The Lord knows I'm sinning, and sinning ain't right. But me and the good Lord gonna have us a good talk later tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's great.
my man.